What's required for life mastery? There's incredible scripture that says, by small and simple things shall great things come to pass. Who knows this better than anybody is Sherry Fernandez. She has written the book on life mastery. And today I have an incredible conversation with her where she breaks down the daily habits that will help you master your life. And as a side note, you won't believe how many push-ups Sherry can do in her own personal life. Make sure you listen to the end. Let's hop into the show. Hey, it's Katie. And listen, as entrepreneurs, we're in this constant pursuit of excellence, right? We want to get really good, world-class at whatever it is that we do that we're passionate about. And in that pursuit, every entrepreneur comes to the same conclusion, which is, oh, hold on a second. I'm a big part of this equation. If I want my business to level up, I must level up. So the question then becomes, how can you do this? And this is why I have Sherry Fernandez on the show today, because Sherry is the author of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Toward an Infinite Potential. Listen, friends, infinite potential, which is so cool, in which she outlines daily habits that you should adopt to help you on the path to success in all areas of your life, while sharing her captivating story of how she went from rags to riches. I'm so excited to hear this story. And today, we're really going to talk about what are the actual steps. If you're interested in life mastery, that's exciting. It's also sometimes big and overwhelming. Like, where do you even start when it comes to infinite possibility? And Sherry has some answers for us. So I'm really excited to hear her story, share the wisdom from her experiences with you today. And Sherry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Katie. I've been excited to do this interview. I've been looking forward to it. And thanks for having me. And
yeah, you're welcome.
This is totally my jam. We live and breathe entrepreneurs around here. So it's great.
Yeah.
Right, audience.
Listen, I think you can tell I'm pretty passionate about it myself as well. And I feel strongly that in order to be an incredible entrepreneur, you also have to be a really powerful leader. And, you're really addressing this in this. How do we become a master of our own life? Sometimes we can get really caught in a lot of traps, whether that's in our thinking, in our actions, in our habits. And so before we dive into kind of those steps for how you start to become a master of your own life, tell us the story that how has this unique perspective that you have, what's sort of an experience that you've had that has really formed and shaped this unique perspective?
And this is going to be just like a one moment experience, but maybe a lifetime perspective. As you said, we were rags to riches story, and sort of just partied away our years of preparation. So then we get married, and all of a sudden we want things, and we have nothing. We're having trouble putting food on the table for our two babies, and then they kept having those babies, more and more of those. We had 6 of those eventually. But there was a moment there early on when we were we were happy, but we really was a struggle. I mean, when a lot of people say they didn't have very much, we really, really struggled just to pay minimal bills and eat. It was that. And Ken was working 2 jobs, and I was doing daycare, and it was just that hard. But I had a moment, and I thought it kind of reverted back to a way I felt when I was a child. But if anybody, I don't want to live like this the rest of my life. I want things. I didn't want things like material things as much as I wanted not to have the financial pressure. I wanted to have I want to have a rocking, sexy body and still have my kids, and still be able to have babies. I wanted to get the education. I mean, it's not formally because I didn't really care that much about that, but I wanted to be educated myself. I wanted to be knowledgeable and know a lot of things, and I wanted a spiritual life. I just wanted every aspect of life to be my marriage. I had not really planned to get married, but I kind of did things a little backwards, and so then I wanted the stability of marriage, and I wanted to have the best marriage possible. And I thought if anybody can do it, I can do it. And I remember still distinctly, I was early 20s or mid 20s, maybe 24-ish. And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find out what it is you do to be successful, not just to have money, but to have all of it. I want the whole thing. And I'm going to find out how it's going to happen. And that started me on a journey to here, because over the years, as Ken felt the same way. We didn't even know that when we got married, but he had some of the same feelings. So we just went to town on ourselves. We worked on us. And as people saw our lives change, we were invited to speak here or teach something there. I taught a lot of classes and on relationships and just different things that we did, and led me to this place where I did
Wow.
mentoring, and then eventually wrote a book, and now I'm here with you. So I would
Which
say that was that moment in my 20s that I said, okay, if anybody can do it, I can do it. I just have to find out how. And I did. And then I wrote a book about that. I wrote the book I wish I would have had then, but it took me dozens and dozens and dozens of books to get the knowledge that I have. So anyway, that's how I got there.
well, I love hearing how it started with a question, like, how do you do this? And as you described being so poor and the constraint and friction that you feel when you're in that situation, I could totally relate to that. And the seeking that followed that, because of the pain that you were experiencing and the questions that you were asking yourself, led you on this journey. And I'm really curious, as you started on that journey, there's 1,000 different directions that you could go from that, right? And what's cool is to even hear that you had this confidence. If anybody can do it, I can do it. Was that just something that you just innately had in that moment? What was giving you that confidence?
That's such an interesting question. I thought about that a lot when I was little, but 7, 8, 9, that period of time. My parents got divorced, and my mom didn't have, she loved us and she took fairly good care of us, but I had a lot of freedom to just wander around. I didn't have any kind of structure to my life. And I just wandered around this little town that we lived in Utah, this little Mayberry kind of town. But I spent a lot of time wandering and thinking. And somewhere in my thinking, I thought, I just decided for some reason that I was somebody special. God loved me special. I don't know. Wow. Somehow I was special to him. I mean, above everybody else like that. So I was a child, So, but I just felt like I really was. I was going to do great things. I had no idea what great things would even look like. I mean, I was just little, and I was just a ragged little, child running around this little town. But I remember thinking so distinctly that I am above everything. Not above people being like that, but that I am somebody special and I can do great things. I didn't even know what great things would look like. I thought they looked like wearing evening dresses and living in a penthouse in New York. I think that's what I thought they looked like. Or going to the beach with Elvis Presley or something. I don't know. But
sure.
Anyway, I think that came back to me after all those years. And it sort of stayed with me underneath that, when I get it together, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But
so as you were on this journey, you found yourself in this difficult situation, but you had the courage and faith and belief that you could pull yourself out of that situation and create a new life for yourself and your family. Like I said, you could go so many different directions. Like, what area of your life did you really focus on first? Was it relationships? Was it your financial situation? Where did you really focus first?
You said a few minutes ago, you said about it could take you a lot of different directions. You could have a lot of different kinds of ways you would go in life, but there's some things that are fundamental that everybody has to address. We have to take care of our body. We have to feed our mind. We have to take care of our spirit. This is universal. Now, how you go about that, there'll be some minor differences. And I don't necessarily have a client come in, for example. I don't say, here's the daily habits you need to have. I say, where would you like to start? But it's so interesting. And again, I said, most of my clients are entrepreneurs. Interestingly, they will start with usually either working out or reading or meditating. They will start with some of those basic things and build into pretty much the same handful of things that everybody does. Once in a while, somebody will be like, I need to floss my teeth. I'm like, okay, we can get a habit of flossing your teeth. But most things are like, I need to read. I want to read. I want to read in my field. I want to do something spiritual. Maybe take up the habit of prayer or devotional kind of study or work out or eat better. They're going to usually fall in those categories. And all of us have to be doing working on those 3 areas some way. Of course, there's a lot more daily habits too than those, but building those habits to start with is, that's universal, whatever kind of business you're running.
So I really appreciate that you pointed out that we have to start at the fundamentals, and that's kind of a starting point that anybody can look at those fundamentals and say, here's where I'm at in these areas of my life, and here's where I want to focus. I love that you pointed that out. Like, where do you want to start? Where do you want to go? Yeah. So for you personally, where did you start to focus as you were in that difficult situation?
I was extremely undisciplined as a person, like daily, any kind of daily habits. I mean, I was just kind of this free spirit and went where I wanted to go and did what I wanted to do, and had developed a little I was able to stay out of the drug culture somewhat. In the drug culture, to stay out of the drugs themselves and some of that stuff. But I did have a bit of an alcohol problem. And so, I mean, I really had no discipline, which is interesting to people when they hear that know me, because my hallmark character trait probably is my self-discipline. So, but I started with 3 habits. I wanted to pray every day in the morning. I wanted to do that in the morning. I'd done that as a little girl all growing up. I don't even know how I learned how to do that. I did that as a child in the evening, but I wanted to pray in the morning because I thought I needed the help. And then I read every day, and I wrote my journal every day. So those are my first 3 habits. And I don't know if the journal one is one I'd gone back to and started with the beginning now, but that's what I started with. Somebody said, you should keep a journal. And so I thought, okay, I will. And so I started with those 3. And then I added working out really quickly after that. So I worked out every day, and then planning my day. So those end up with 5 pretty quick. Started with 3, and then pretty quickly I added the other 2. So you don't plan your day. A planned day means a planned life, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that, I told you I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And one of the entrepreneur traps is, I'm so busy, I don't have time to do those things. It's going to be a mom trap too, right? Yeah. I'm just too busy. If you take care of you first, and it's got to be a priority, and take care of these habits. They just have to be like it's a cut in stone. This is what I do. No matter what else happens today, I take care of me, and I do it first. And interestingly enough, your business will do better if you do that. Your family will do better if you do that. Whatever it is that you do in your life, you will do better, and they will be better, and you will be better equipped. I love what you said earlier about leadership, about leaders, entrepreneurs, and leaders, because entrepreneurs are leaders. Yeah. You're leaders in the community and of your own people too. So you got to set the tone and the standard too. And that's another reason why or if you're a mom, you put yourself first. You just have you're putting yourself first, but your own development has just got to be a top priority, or you give yourself away. You get to the end of the day and things are not in balance.
Yeah. As you talk about things like life mastery and infinite possibility, those are really big concepts, like I said before, that can kind of be overwhelming. And then you immediately talk about really simple things, Sherry, daily habits. So why is a habit, why does that matter? Why a habit?
Well, your habits is who you're becoming, right? It's what you're becoming, and having those habits. Like, I'll have young people will talk to me. Like, say they can't usually afford me, but I'll go to lunch with them or something and spend a little time with them. But the question they often will ask is, "What can I do to get ahead in my field?" Whether they're an entrepreneur or they're in a job, they will often ask me, "What's the one thing I can do?" And I'll say, "Read 30 minutes in your field." If you read 30 minutes in your field every day, you will be at the head of you'll be an expert in your field within a really short period of time, because most people don't do that. I don't care whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or you're a plumber or whatever you do, you're an entrepreneur, you're a cake baker. Most people do not continue consistently to read and study in their field every day. So you do that one thing. I just think what that habit would mean if you did that for a year. Read 30 minutes in your field every day for a year. What about 2 years? What about 5 years? In 10 years, nobody will be able to touch you, because you'll be so far advanced in your field. So that's it. That's one example of a daily habit. What you put in your mouth one day doesn't matter very much, right? You eat a donut for breakfast, but you eat a donut for breakfast every day. And where is that going to lead you in a couple of years, right? On the other hand, if you eat something healthy every day, where is that going to lead you every day? You work out every day. Okay, one workout here and there. Okay, that's fine. But if you do it every day, where is that going to take you? It's what you do every day is who you're becoming. And way more important. And if you don't plan your day, you don't have a planned life. Your life will just happen to you. It won't be planned.
It's this compounding interest effect. And what is showing up for me as you describe all of this is it's a decision. We make a decision on who we want to be in our life, and we take that decision and we start making smaller decisions on our daily practices, habits, routines, and make a commitment to those things, and then show up every day. And if you're starting at flossing, start there. Like, we all have to start somewhere.
Yep.
Start there. Maybe it's daily prayer. Maybe it's even asking yourself, like, I've never been religious in my life. I haven't really explored my faith. Maybe I want to start. I loved hearing you say you felt like you needed help in your day. And so you wanted to do a morning prayer every day, and making that decision, and then moving forward and implementing that decision. So it's really cool to see kind of a framework starting to build out. And, to go back to where you were talking about fundamentals, I'm thinking about this topic of life mastery. And if we kind of zoom out, we've talked about daily habits. What are some of the other fundamentals when it comes to this life mastery pursuit?
I don't know if this is exactly where you're going, but I kind of like to, I think maybe it applies. Going back to one of my favorite chapters that I wrote, one of the things I have an assessment that I use with my clients that also is available on the website for free. If somebody wants it.
Okay.
I work with this assessment, and we had 7 areas, and there were 7 areas that if you work with me, work in all 7 areas, which is including spirituality. And I added character was kind of late in the game. Just before I wrote the book, I said, there's something missing here, something that keeps us all in balance. Like, how am I going to make sure I come home on time at the end of the day when I'm an entrepreneur? And I think I'm going to get ahead if I do 1 or 2 more things. No, I'm working on my relationships. I have to go home and be with my spouse. Or maybe I'm trying to get ahead. I see an opportunity to maybe cut a corner here into my integrity, but you're like, I'm working on my integrity over here. You see what I mean? So working on having some overarching kinds of things like a personal constitution, which I call governing values, for example, to have some of these other things that are in place, a mission statement, give you some guidance. Those are some things to make sure that we keep it all in balance, and we don't get so carried away in our project over here that we lose this over here. I don't know if that's where you were going, but that's what came to my mind when you asked that question.
Sherry, I don't lead the conversation in any one specific direction. I follow my curiosity, and I'm excited to hear like how you interpret the questions. And what's cool is what you're describing is this really thoughtful, intentional self-creation. And, there was a time in my life where I did well enough in school. I went to college and was a little bit lost at college at first, but then I kind of found myself in the area of design. And then I really thrived in college, and I got scholarships and national awards. And then I exited college and got married and started having kids. And I remember this moment where I felt like, oh, I just am who I am at this point. And I'm just on cruise control from here on out, which is why I think God was like, hey, Katie, you need to start a business. Like, you need to keep developing yourself. You have not arrived, my friend. And like what I'm hearing you say is like, that journey never ends. And we can really be thoughtful and intentional about who we are in our life right now today and continuing on. And it takes some of this forward thinking, asking these questions, and continually being willing to start and to develop ourselves so that we can, I don't know what your goal and objective is, Sherry, but for me, like my goal and objective is to become the woman that God created me to be. And I really feel like he put all this potential right inside of me. And it's up to me to decide what I'm going to do with those gifts and talents. And, how can I kind of bring that magic, so to speak, into the world? And that's my own personal pursuit. I'm curious to hear, what has your pursuit been as you have, you found yourself in that moment? I can understand being in that moment of pain that comes with being really poor and, wanting to pull yourself out of that. As that evolved and you started generating income and money and having success, and did your kind of purpose or your North Star, did that ever shift and evolve? And what did that start to look like?
I think I pretty much from that point forward felt, like you said, I want to be the full potential that I can be. I want to see what I can do. And of course, none of us will reach our potential in this life. Well, I want to see what I could make of myself all the way around. Yes, I wanted money. Yes, we want our business to be successful, which we started a few years later. We wanted those kind of success too, but it's just part of the puzzle. Who I'm becoming is my masterpiece, right? I'm working on me, and whatever moves me forward as a whole person, not just my money, not just physically, not just spiritually, but the whole picture, my lifestyle, everything, the example that I set in the community. I'm working on that. And I feel like maybe people listening to that, or you were saying about, you got to keep growing. God wants you to keep growing. And they may be like, well, will I ever get to quit? Here's 2 things about never quitting is you can never reach your potential. But the joy, I know it sounds so trite when you say this, but really, really, the joy is in the journey. It's not just in the journey, but it's in the first step. So a lot of times I start the book talking about happiness, and that we all are trying to, that's what we all want. We want to be happy, right? And we just don't know always quite how to get that. Happiness comes from moving forward. We all know that when we're slipping back or We're stuck, we say, but we're never really stuck because we're either going forward or backwards, right? But we feel stuck. We all know that's unhappiness, but the opposite is so true. And it only takes little steps for the happiness to come. And of course, the more you take, you referenced the compound effect of habits, and Darren Hardy teaches a lot about that. I like his book on that. But the more you do, the more you can do, and the more you can do, you're not going to arrive. If you're looking for an arrival spot, you're going to be depressed because there isn't one. But it's exciting. What can I do next? I'm working on push-ups. So my grandson and his wife are here, and so they're like, "Oh, why are you doing these push-ups?" Well, it's because I'm seeing what I can do. So today I'm working for 51 without stopping on my toes. This is my goal for today. I'm 67
Sherry.
Years old, and I've hit
out.
50 a couple of times. So now I'm going to go. Well, we said 51. I said, you know what? I think I'll have to try for 52. Now I might not make it today, but I will make it sometime in the next week. But why am I doing it? To see what I can do. And I just find that exciting. I've got a goal for 100 books this year. I did up almost 70 last year to read or listen to 100 books. Why? Well, I want the information, but also I want to see what I can do. And it's fun. It's exciting. It makes life interesting.
Yeah, I can really relate to this drive to see what's possible, see what I can do. And even as I hear you talk about and describe all these stories and examples, as human beings, we are wired for growth. We want progress. We want momentum. And there's no autopilot. There's not even a standstill. It's either you're moving forward or you're sliding back. It's one or the other.
Absolutely.
And given the choice, I want to move forward. Like that, I think that's what we all want. And what's interesting is, anybody who's listening to this, I want to acknowledge some reality here. Like you just said, you're 67, you're sitting in a room, quiet, nobody's interrupting you, no one's bothering you. The sun is shining. Like it's easy. What you're describing, it's like, yes, I can get on board with this. This makes a lot of sense. Let's do it. Let's implement. Let's start moving forward. And what I want to also acknowledge is life will push back on you as you start to move in this direction. Yeah. All kinds of opposition is going to show up. And including, you mentioned you have 6 kids. Like that's not easy to be on this journey of personal growth and development and pursuit of excellence, while also having 6 kids at your ankles. So I'm really curious, Sherry, what are some of the things that you did to keep yourself focused on that long-term goal and objective, and to do it alongside your kids in a way where you didn't get derailed? Because I think it's really easy when, we're in this quiet environment, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. But when you go out into reality, it's a totally different story to start applying it. And yet you have successfully been doing it over and over and over again. What are some of the key things that have allowed you to maintain that pace and maintain that focus on where you're headed?
Like you say, life happens, but we also use it as an excuse a lot. I don't feel very good today. I don't think I'll go get those steps again today. Or, you have to have a take no prisoners attitude about I do this or die trying. And I say that I used to have these quotes on I had a gym for a while, a boutique fitness business for 9 years called Fit Mania. And I put up all these personal slogans of mine. I used to say to myself when I had all these kids, and one of them was, I'll do this or die trying, which of course you're not going to die trying, but you have to have that kind of an attitude, to do things, staying strong in the middle. I learned really quickly that on the days that I took care of me, those fundamental things first, and I did them first, I felt better at the end of the day. Some things you can do tomorrow. You can do the laundry tomorrow. You can make that sales call tomorrow. There's a lot of things you could do tomorrow, but you can't do you can't do today's workout tomorrow because tomorrow has its own workout. You can't do today's prayer tomorrow because you can't do today's meditation tomorrow, right? Those things that are fundamental in our personal development that can't be done tomorrow, we did today. And if I did that, at the end of the day, I felt like my day was a success and I was more effective in my day. I was a better mother. I was better at my other projects and things I was doing. I was happier. If I got the laundry done, but I missed me, I wasn't very happy about it. And what's interesting is you feel like intuitively you think, oh, then I work out for 45 minutes and I got to read for 30 minutes and I got this, it's continue. I could use that time on my day to day. That's intuitively what we think. It's counterintuitive to realize that by doing those things for yourself, you will actually have a better day and probably get more done. I can't exactly explain the whole way that works, but I just know, I've been doing this for 4 decades. And I'm just telling you that you do you first and the rest of the day will take care of itself. It just works that way.
I've never heard it or seen it or read it in that phrase. You can't do today's workout tomorrow. And it's so true. I was recently listening to a couple scholars they were looking at some phrases in the Bible, and they were debating whether or not you can like live a horrible life and then repent of everything right at the end and like still make it to heaven. And I was like, you guys are missing the whole point. Like, it's all about who have you become in your life, right? It's not about whether or not God's going to let you into heaven. Like, it's about like, who have you become in your life? And like, that's why he's given us these commandments. That's why he's encouraging us to pray every day and read scriptures. It's because that is how you develop this brilliant individual that he's created you to have the potential to become. And it's these daily practices that you're talking about, Sherry: meditation, prayer, journaling, scripture study. And it's so simple. Yet I want to make sure everybody understands this. It's simple and it's profound. And it is, especially over a lifetime like you've experienced. And what's so cool is when you had this realization, kind of this awakening in your early 20s, as you started to kind of go on this journey, it was almost like an experiment on your life. And who was to say where it would lead you and how it would end up, right? It was kind of like this big hypothesis. And you put on your scientist's hat and you said, we're going to experiment, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to go pursue this or die trying. And what's so beautiful is like, you're so vibrant, and you're a little bit further along in the journey than I am. And you're able to look back over the last 40 years and be like, you know what? It's really working for me. Like, yes. I'm not saying you've arrived at any sort of a destination. There is no destination. But nope. I think it's very clear to see that these principles are true principles. And if we are dismissing ourselves in our day after day after day, that has a negative compounding effect. And if we do the reverse of paying attention to ourselves day in and day out, day after day, that has a positive compounding effect. How? Because it determines who we become. And you're a living example of this. Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high-performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. And if you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.katierichardson.com/case study. And the cool thing is we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
So two things I like to say about that. One's on the side about making sure you put yourself first. Why don't we do that as an entrepreneur or as a mom or anybody else? Is because returning emails, running our children's lunch to them at school or whatever it is, or picking up whatever it is, it makes us, putting out fires is what we'd say. Yeah. Putting out these little fires, they make us feel important and busy, but we're not really doing anything important.
Oh yeah. And
for you talked about one of my kids, I feel like my kids are old. All of them are old, but they're 33. 6 of them, 33 to 57. Okay. So they're well adults. Still, I live my everyday knowing that I am setting an example for them. How are your kids going to learn what you say or how you live? Right? They're going to watch what you do and they'll do what you do. What you say is almost irrelevant. So one of the best reasons and the best things you can do for your children or your employees or your friends and people around you, people you care about, is you do you and let them watch you do it. And that's really, that is super. The other thing I wanted to say is, I said I had these ideas of I wanted to have a certain kind of body, a certain kind of marriage, a certain kind of amount of money, everything. I didn't have a real definite, those really big dreams, you don't really have real limits on, like those big, hairy, audacious goals. I talk about that in the book a little bit, but action steps are really limited, but your big dreams are so big you can't really define them. They're kind of this nebulous cloud of bigness out there. But everything in every area that I was concerned about was all these 8 areas. I have found more than I ever dreamed of. I mean, every area. Marriage has been the best experience. I read this thing the other day in David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain. He said, only 15% of marriages never lose the passion. My marriage never lost the passion, and it's just increased over time. I told you, I'm doing more push-ups now than I could 10, 20 years ago. I can do more push-ups now, which is a little thing. It's not a big thing, but our money, our finances, our circle of influence, just in every way, life has brought more to me than I could have even dreamed of. But it's by those small and simple things done repeatedly.
As you had the audacity to even dream and begin to bring definition to that dream in return and pursued it, in return, life has given you even more than what you even could have imagined and dreamed for yourself, which is just so exciting, right?
Life works.
It starts to tap into that, oh, wow. Well, what actually is possible then? Like, how far can I take this thing?
You can take it so far. I mean, you can't dream big enough. I remember somebody saying, I don't remember who said this, probably been said a lot in a lot of different ways, but God can dream bigger dreams for you than you can dream for yourself. But you still have to put in the work. You still have to do the everyday thing and shoot for the thing.
Yeah.
Keep it in mind. Exercise the disciplines. You can't just sit on your couch. I saw somebody, it was on social media or something. She said she believed in the law of attraction. She was sitting on her couch every day, imagining money falling into her lap. I thought, well, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you better. It's not going to happen. You still have to apply the principles. You can put all the goals in place. You can visualize and you can do. And I'm a big fan of daily written affirmations. But you still have to put in the work. It's slow. And we should be noted. I think we think there's some great big thing we can do to get from here to there. There are no big things. All there are is little things done over time. That's all there is for progress. You think, I could just find that one big thing that will launch me. There's no big thing. If you're looking for the big thing, you'll be disappointed. There's no big thing. There's just little things done over and over consistently. I'd like to say one thing too about this consistency of habits. There will be days, not very many, because I found when I started working out, I worked out 365 days a year, no matter what. If I was sick, it was Christmas, whatever happened, I worked out. But I realized that wasn't necessary later, but you can make it happen. But if you think, it's okay if I just do this, I do it most days, you will quit. And you lose the bit of the discipline that it takes to do it every day. I don't miss what, and if you read the book, I'm a big fan of tracking what you do. That's how you develop the habits, you track them. So to this day, I still track it on my chart. I track my habits every day. And every day I mark off. I'm doing 14 things now every day that I mark off. And I just do every day. You do it every day. If I miss something, it's 14 is hard to remember. I would never remember them all. But if I miss something, it's just like, I don't know. I just don't. I just really try not to ever miss anything. Yeah. Sometimes when you're first developing a habit, you've got to miss some things. But once you've got that habit developed, and the way you develop it is not miss, ironically. So
yeah. When we were chatting, Sherry, before we hopped on to the podcast interview, you were like, I'm happy. You can ask me any question, Katie. I'm happy to talk about anything. I'm just really passionate about getting this message out there. And the vehicle that you've used to do that is you've written this book, Life Mastery, and in the book, you talk about helping people create infinite possibility. And, I myself, I've had a lot of people asking me, do you have a book? Do you have a book? Do you have a book? And I need to be writing a book right now, Sherry. And it's crazy overwhelming. In a way, I feel like infinite possibility, right? It's like, oh, wow, this could be all kinds of things. And it's really been overwhelming. And yet you're somebody who's done it. And this book is on Amazon. It's got great reviews, by the way, 51 5-star reviews. Plus she's got an incredible workbook to go along with it. Go on Amazon. We've got a link in the show notes, by the way. So what did you do? What were the actual kind of disciplines that you did to help you formulate this experiment that you had been creating on your own life and put it into a book? What did you do to actually do that?
Well, a little background on that book thing is I've done a lot of speaking and teaching, just lots and lots, decades of it. And one-on-one, big groups, little groups, classes, all kinds of things. And I've often been asked, people say, you should write a book. People say this, my husband doesn't say this, but people say, I could listen to you for hours, which they probably really couldn't because that would be really awful. If they want to listen to me for hours, the book's on Audible, but I don't know. But I just said, no. And they said, you should write a book. I'm just like, I'm just not me. I'm not going to write a book. This is what I do. If I can say it, I can do it. I'm not a writer. And then somebody else said it one more time. I did a workshop, and there's a couple there that are educators and fairly well known in our community. And I don't know them real well, but I knew them casually. Anyway, they were at my workshop, and they said, she was coaching with me at the time. He wasn't, but he said, you should write a book. And I went home and told Ken, and Ken said, it's time. You should write a book. And I had been already thinking, again, like I said, I'm not getting any younger. I'm thinking, I have all of this stuff I know, and I would take it to the grave with me. Maybe I could, and I can only coach so many people. I thought maybe I should put that in a book. But it worked out. And I don't know, Kate, if you can relate to this or not, if it will work for you. But I thought, I don't know how to write a book. And then I thought, I've been doing all this speaking, all this teaching. How would I teach it if I was speaking? So I decided what I want to kind of outline a little bit. And I said, okay, how would I do this if I was teaching it or if I was speaking? It doesn't exactly translate, but it gave me a good start. And honestly, that book, it flowed out of me. I had once in a while, I was driven to my knees in something like I didn't want to include the marriage part. I just think I was tired of the subject. I've been speaking on it for years, but it just flowed out of me. It just flowed out of me. And I had some bumps, but I did have to set some time apart. I went on, did a couple of retreats, overnight retreats, where I went somewhere and wrote. And we traveled, this is during COVID, but we traveled all through COVID. So when I was home, I would just put in 2 hours a day on the days I was home. And I usually not Mondays, because I see clients on Mondays. So, the other days that I was home, I would do that. I just kept at it. But, I had that book, even though we were traveling and gone a lot. I started, it was about 6 months that it took me to write it.
Get out. That's super fast.
Yeah. I mean, that's from editing and everything. It was about 6 months. Yeah.
And did you self-publish on Amazon?
It's self-published, not on Amazon. I went through Authors Unite, which was a good experience, and they made the book look really beautiful. It's beautiful. We just changed the picture on the back, because I no sooner got it done than I was thinking, I'm going to let my hair go gray. I just want to do that. So I hate it when people have these young pictures of themselves. It's not that old a picture, but it was a big contrast with my hair. So I just this week, we're putting a different picture up on the back. But the book is beautiful. Somebody said, how can I help you? And I said, could you just write a 4-star review? Because I said, it's fishy looking. My reviews have been just awesome. They've been like 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. I think now there's a couple, but they said, I don't feel good about it. And I think they went, I can't remember who it was, but they went back. I don't remember somebody that I knew well or not. They went back and they said, this really should be a 5-star review. I think gave it 4. And they said, that really should be 5. That's as far as they could get him to go. So it's been really well received. I really believe it's the hand of God is in it. It's not, I don't think I have that kind of talent. We have a local publishing company here in the gal that I did not go through her, but we're casual friends. But she said, Sherry, in all my years of doing this, was the best personal development book I've ever read.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Whatever. So there you go. But it says something, but I'm really proud about that book. Is when I went looking for answers, I could find plenty of motivators. I started with Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top, and we listened to Brian Tracy, and we listened to or read Wayne Dyer. I mean, we did all of those classics and a bunch of in-between ones. So a lot of business books, but nobody ever told me how. I had to figure out the how myself. Like, how am I going to develop these habits? Well, I'm going to track them. Okay. Tracking we know is important. Peter Drucker said what gets measured gets managed, right? Okay. So I'm going to find a way to track it. And then I'm going to find a way to make affirmations. I did get that idea from Brian Tracy about the daily written affirmations. So I had to kind of make my own way. So in Life Mastery are also the how-to. And the other thing is I don't teach anything that I don't know for myself. If I don't know it to be true by my own experience and have seen it at other people's lives myself, I didn't go look up studies and say the studies show. I do have some of that stuff in there, but I only wrote what I knew positively to be true. I didn't just find any good ideas I thought sounded good and put them in there, which is often the way that a lot of these books are written. So I think that's the 2 things I'm proud of about that book.
Well, and there's lots of great self-development books out there. There's great information on YouTube. But to your point, if you don't understand how to implement those principles into your life, how to actually apply them, they won't change your life. They'll just rattle around in your mind as good thoughts, good ideas, and nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
And so to hear that you show us how to implement these principles, like that's the key right there. That is the difference between continually thinking about transforming your life and actually doing it. That's the difference.
Doing something, and you need a starting point. And whatever system, my systems are super simple. They are so simple because I've seen complicated, an author who I love, and I won't say his name, but he's got a very expensive planning program. And I love him. I've met him personally. I've spent time with him. He's very well known, and he's got a system. I'm good at this stuff. And I'm like, I don't get it. You don't want a system that's so complicated that takes your thinking time to make it work. You need to put your thinking time into yourself, not into your planning system. So I do have a planner actually that we just have developed. You have to get those personally for me, but you can contact me and get those directly. But we just barely got them out. And I want to get them out there for a while before I put them on Amazon. But it's got a place for all the things: where to write your affirmations, how to track but simple tracking sheet, spot affirmations, then rate your to-do list and your other things in a planner. But you've got to have simple systems. Otherwise, you'll just get bogged down in your system. You need systems that support you, not that you have to support the system.
Yeah. This is so exciting. Like everything that I know about growth and personal development, everything that you're saying aligns. And I think, like I said, entrepreneurship is an incredible self-development vehicle. And if you don't have clarity on what you're doing, life will bog you down and we'll lose that clarity. We'll lose that focus, and we'll be so focused on things that really don't matter that we'll get 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road, only to realize we've, gotten way off course or are in a totally different direction than we actually want to be. And so to be able to track your own self-development, like self-development sounds like this big arbitrary thing that isn't trackable. And so to hear you say you've got a system in your book that makes it trackable. I don't know. Are you assigning numbers to things? Like, that's really cool. So I'm excited and very curious to learn more about this system because, again, as somebody who pursues excellence myself, I want to find experts, people who have been there before, figure out their systems, implement them into my life. And that's a fast track to, the next level, the next phase, the next season. And you've done a lot of the hard work. And to your point, if a system is complex, then it's bogging you down. It's sucking up your energy, your time, your resources to be implementing things. And so I love to hear that you have taken something that usually is quite complicated and you've figured out a way to really simplify it. And, you mentioned you have 6 kids. I have 4 kids. I've got clients and businesses, and life can become very complex very quickly. It's part of living a very fulfilling life. It's also very complex. And so to be able to navigate those things with clarity and a system, that just makes total sense.
It does, doesn't it? It's interesting how this is not in the book, but I've got a simple system. Well, entrepreneurs are famous. I'm sure you're one of those they're just infamous for having too many ideas. They've got all these ideas and this and this. So one of my things is coaching with them is we do a visualization. We get them, okay, this is what I visualize my life to be. Then when they have this idea, I'm like, will that get you there? No, probably not. Then let's write that down over here. But one little skill that I use is just put it all out on a whiteboard or a big desk blotter, section off your life, write them all down. There's just such clarity in writing when you feel like you've got all those things going on, they're floating around and they don't even fit into your planner. There's too much. There's great clarity in just diagramming. And this is this section. This is the things I need for my house, my new house here. And these are the things I need for my business. And these are the things I need to buy. And, you mark it or you write all down, it gets it off your brain. So for you busy-minded entrepreneurs, you have too many. And then the other thing I teach my entrepreneurs, if they've got ideas, but they're not directly in line with the thing they're trying to accomplish right now, we put them in a sacred little notebook. Just write your idea out because you feel like I'm going to lose it though. But it's going to distract you from your main deal here. So then you can write it down here and then it's not lost. You can let it out of your brain, free up the brain space, and get back on track. So there's a little tip I have for 2 tips I have for busy-minded people.
Yeah. Really good tips. Like, we've got to get out of our head. We think we can hang on to everything in this
you got
space between our ears.
Energy. If you'll write it down, you write down your to-do list. Planning is the foundation principle of a good life. You just have got to take a few minutes and plan. When you put it on paper, here's your to-do list. Here's my ideas over here. You sort out all the thoughts. And then I have a couple other skills that we won't do it here, but some other skills that I teach people too. But you've got to clear up that creative space in your brain so that you can focus on what needs to be focused on. Focus on your primary projects and not lose something or somebody along the way.
The book is called Life Mastery. It's on Amazon. She's even got an incredible workbook. Sherry, this has been absolutely incredible. I feel like we're just scratching the surface and really excited to meet you, excited to hear your story, your rags to riches story. And thank you for sharing your wisdom, your life experiences, really tangible ideas with our audience. And for people who do want to send you a message, maybe to get access to the app or any other thing, where would you have people go?
If you want to email me and just have a conversation that way, I answer all my own emails, and that's Sherry at lifemasteryinfo.com. Of course, that's our website, is Life Mastery Info. I'm also on Facebook. You could message me like that kind of thing. So we're pretty accessible that way. And then the book, of course, is on Amazon. The workbook's on Amazon. If you would like to try the planner, they're $90. They're in a leather refillable binder. And they're great. There's still a few little things I want to tweak before I get it out there on Amazon, but I've had super good feedback on those. You can contact me directly and order those. And we'll have them on the website here pretty soon. We're going to do that this week, get them up on the website. So you can order them besides going to Amazon. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. And before you hop off, I do have a couple rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, let's hear them.
What's something that you do consistently every day?
Oh, I got 14 things. I get 14,000 steps. I do 14,000 steps every day, no matter what. If I'm walking the halls of a hotel, a cruise ship, outside the cold, it doesn't matter. 14,000 steps, not necessarily all at once, but that's 14,000 steps.
Wow.
I read every day. I read scriptures every day. I meditate every day. I pray every day, morning and night. I still have that habit. I read, I listen to on the audio every day. It gives you the general idea.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I track I have one thing I don't eat after dinner, right? So I track that. If I eat after dinner, I don't get my mark. So I track that right now. That's something I'm doing right now.
You've mentioned some of the experts and mentors that you've kind of read and followed over the years. Is there a specific book that maybe you keep it on your nightstand, you found yourself reading it more than once?
That'd be scriptures. That would be the Bible or other Book of Mormon, some of those scriptures like that. But and sometimes things in that, I like to reference some things in that same genre, but that would probably be the thing that'd be more consistent. I have some great books that I've loved and I go back to over The Great Pain Deception has been a real good reference book for me. So it's got books like that I go back to regularly and get jazzed back up.
I've never heard of that one. The Great Pain Deception?
Yeah, it's a life changer if you're ready for it. It's a life changer. It's not that it's hugely profound. It's that it's not hugely profound is probably his charm. But if you have chronic pain, if you've got chronic or anxiety or depression, another person I love, that The Great Pain Deceptions by Stephen Ray Osenich, and you can get that. He doesn't have an Audible, but you can get that on Amazon. But Carolyn Leaf, have you heard of Carolyn Leaf?
Oh, I've heard of her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's both a researcher and she's a psychiatrist. I think, I can't remember for sure. But her work on brain and her approach to things like mental health and that is just I think she's breaking the mold. So, and she's so smart. I listened to her speak at a leadership conference in Miami last year, and my son was there, and he's got a little bit of depression and anxiety sitting next to me. And she made this simple comment, and I felt his whole body just got relaxed. She said, "You're not a depressed person. You're a person with depression. It just means you have something to take care of. It's not a big deal. You just take care of it." And I just felt him go, "Oh, thank you."
Wow.
Anyway, she rocks, Carolyn Leaf.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. As I think back on my own entrepreneurial journey, sometimes there's these critical moments where you need some wisdom from a friend, from a family member. So have you ever been in a situation where somebody shared some advice that really helped you in a difficult situation?
I've had an my life as that child I told you about earlier started with, there was nobody at the crossroads for me. There wasn't any adults there. It's how I came to feel special because I didn't know anything about God, religion, anything like that. But somehow it felt like in my mind, my mind being that my child's mind, that he was there for me because it wasn't a person to put there. Otherwise, it'd have been a person. And every time I go back to saying, where can I get advice? It goes to one of two things. I'll pray about it and he'll say, no, I'm still here. But my husband, if I really need advice, like writing the book, when he said, it's time, Sherry, write the book. Or he said, well, I'm in a fitness business and we were losing money. He said, you're making a difference. We'll work this part out. You just keep doing what you're doing. So there's moments like that when he's been there, and he's super wise in his own right and accomplished. And so if I, there's lots of little turning points that he's given me. So those are my two sources for the most part. And then of course the books I read and that kind of thing. But so that's not a very satisfying answer, probably not a one person.
It's the best. It's the best possible answer ever. I think it's making me a little emotional, really. Like that was beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. Sherry, it's been so awesome getting to know you, hearing your story, hearing your frameworks, your principles, the fundamentals. And I'm super inspired by you. I really am. And I appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom. And I want everyone who's listening to know this is literally what is working now, today, yesterday, and forever. This is what's working now. And, follow these steps that Sherry has shared with us on personal life mastery and, asking those right questions and having the audacity to make decisions and bring definition to your dreams. And as you pursue that, life will hand you back something way better than you had to find for yourself on your vision board. But the only way to get that is to start pursuing your own best definition of that infinite possibility. So that is my invitation to you. And Sherry, thank you. This has been amazing. And for everybody who's listening, this is what's working now. Hey, thanks for listening. I am sitting here so curious to know, what is your greatest takeaway from today's episode? We talked about a lot of things, and my hope is something in particular is really popping up for you. And if you heard my message in the middle of today's episode and you're wondering, hey, Katie, how can you help me get more done in the next 90 days than most people do all year? I'm going to invite you to go to that website, now.katierichardson.com/case study. I have 8 incredible VIP clients who have been so generous to share their stories of the problems that they were facing when they first met me and what they have been able to do because of the formulas, the systems, the processes that I have taught them as they have learned this art of showing up powerfully in their business. So go find the entrepreneur who's most like you, who's going to inspire you to see new possibility. And if you so feel inclined, I'm going to invite you to go to the next page where you're going to see a 6-minute video and I show you the secret behind the work that I'm doing with these incredible entrepreneurs. It might surprise you. So go watch that video. And then if you feel so inclined, fill out an application, because you and I will hop on the phone and we'll have one of the most impactful conversations you have potentially ever had in your life. I've had a client say, Katie, that call was priceless. And I was like, cool. Can you at least name a price? And he said, at least it was worth $10,000. So you have an opportunity to qualify for that if you fill out an application, if you qualify and meet the minimum requirements. And please, by all means, keep listening. I'll see you in the next episode, and keep being awesome.